All right, guys, this is going to be a dogfight. This is the Nexus 5X versus the Apple iPhone 6S. And that's going to be hard to say with all these letters, numbers, and acronyms here. How in the world are you going to decide between two top-of-the-line phones here? We've got brand new offerings from LG and Google and brand new offerings from Apple. This is going to be an honest review, an honest look at these two devices and how I think you can try and decide between these two top-of-the-line phones here for 2015, so stay tuned. All right, so jumping right in, these two phones, very, very similar yet very, very different. They are both, I would call, one-handed devices. The 5-inch on the Nexus 5X, really, really nice size. iPhone 6X, 6S, 4.7-inch display, a little bit easier to hold on to with one hand. It also has that reachability thing, which is nice to be able to use one-handed. Google does not offer that with their phone, so you're kind of stuck with the OS as is. Both phones easy to use in one hand. Both phones very, very pocket friendly, nice and thin on both these. I think the iPhone is a hair bit thinner. The other glaring difference between these two phones are construction. Premium 7000 series aluminum here on the Apple iPhone 6S. They've made it a little bit more rigid so it won't bend in people's pockets. Nexus 5X polycarbonate chassis here, feels a little bit cheap, but I'm not going to call it cheap feeling. It's just a little bit lower end, when you compare it to aluminum. Doesn't feel bad, don't get me wrong. I really like the Nexus 5X. I think it's a great phone. I think in terms of the body and construction, I like it. It's just plastic is a different feeling than metal. That's all I'm saying. I prefer metal, but this isn't a cheap phone. It doesn't feel cheap. Getting into more of the sort of ergonomics of the devices, both of these guys, they both have Touch ID / fingerprint readers here. They're both extremely fast. If you watch me unlock the Nexus, I will just rest my finger on there and boom, it's unlocked. Same thing with the Apple. I put my finger on there, boom, it's unlocked. Super fast, super reliable, great fingerprint scanners on both these phones. Bonus to the iPhone here, it does have the button built in, so you do get other functionality built into that. Nexus, this fingerprint reader is just a fingerprint reader, so as great as that is, it doesn't really do anything else other than your security. So kind of an edge to the iPhone there. Screen-wise, we're going to talk a little bit about the quality of these screens. Both, I believe, are IPS LCD. Both are fantastic. I really like the colors on both these phones. I tend to gravitate more towards the iPhone screen in terms of the overall iPhone versus Android argument. But in general, this Nexus is very similar to last year's Nexus, and I really like the Nexus displays, and I always have liked IPS LCD, and I think they've done a really good job in sort of keeping a high-quality display in their phone. Viewing angles are really good on both of them. Brightness is really good on both of them. If I had to choose one over the other, it's tough. I think I like the iPhone display just a hair bit more. I think it's just the color accuracy and the quality. We're talking very, very little bit of a difference here, but I think I just give the edge to the iPhone there, just very, very slightly. But that doesn't mean I don't like the Nexus display. It's a great display. We'll jump into cameras here now since we're talking about color and stuff. Both cameras on these phones are fast. Both offer 12 megapixel resolutions, and both of them focus fast. They both take pictures fast. I'm going to try and do this one-handed here. I'm just going to press to focus. That's got glare in it on the Nexus. So we're going to try, let me just see if I can move this out of the way here and not get glare. Press to focus, and then we'll snap, boom. You can see both phones extremely quick. We'll look at the resolution here on both. Both high quality, both great sharpness, both really good color representation. Awesome cameras on both these phones. The software in the iPhone, I think the Google app, while I like it probably more than most other Android phone apps, particularly Motorola, I think the iPhone has a little bit of an edge with the camera software. I think the HDR processing is fast. Apple does in the iPhone 6S have the live photo mode, which is neat. Just a couple little features that I think give it a little bit of an edge over the Nexus in terms of the camera. But as far as like speed goes, you guys saw that focus test and that picture test. Speed, quality, resolution, sharpness, all of the above, they're very, very similar. And I tend to like the Nexus quite a bit. But again, edge to the iPhone there, but again, very, very slight very, very slight edge. Getting into some other features here, the phones we'll talk about. Sound quality. Nexus definitely has the edge on sound quality. The reason being is that it has front-facing speakers here. So the front-facing speaker is directed at the user, right? As opposed to the iPhone, which has the speaker on the bottom. So the speaker is, sounding down into your surface. And so that's kind of a bummer. So the edge in terms of sound quality goes to the Nexus. Overall, software-wise, I'm not going to argue versus, iPhone versus Android. You guys can watch other videos about that. They're both great. The nice thing about the Nexus is that it has unpolluted Android. It's stock, plain, vanilla, marshmallow, top-of-the-line software. It's going to get the updates first from Google, which is really nice. Similar to how Apple, is always good about their updates. Google always updates the Nexus first, and so you're guaranteed updates first on these Nexus devices. And again, there's no bloatware on this phone. It's just basic stock plain Android. There's no TouchWiz, there's no Sense, there's no Sony crap, there's no unnecessary apps, and you can remove or uninstall or disable all the unnecessary apps that you don't want, which is actually more than you can say for the iPhone. The iPhone has a bunch of Apple crap that you can't delete. Stuff like FaceTime and Tips and Game Center and all this other junk that I certainly won't use and that I would like to be able to get rid of, but I can't. So edge there in terms of software, I think, for Google versus the iPhone. Again, that's not saying Google Android is better than Apple. It's just saying there's a little bit more. In my opinion, the edge goes in terms of what you can do with the software, more so on the Nexus. And that's also if you're a developer or a tinkerer with your phone, you can do a lot more with this. You can flash kernels, you can flash ROMs, you can customize the phone to your heart's desire. So software-wise, the edge definitely goes to the Android Nexus 5. I guess the other thing to talk about is price. We've got a 16 gig phone here. Stock standard price unlocked is $650 plus tax. 16 gig unlocked Nexus 5X. Standard price $379 plus tax. So quite a bit of difference here between these two phones. Also keep in mind, no removable storage on either. No removable battery on either. So what you see is what you get. There's no adding and subtracting in terms of the storage or the battery or anything else. Both have reversible plugs. So Apple came out with it first. They have the reversible lightning plug. Google has the reversible USB-C plug, which is pretty nice on both these phones. They both feel high quality. They both are top of the line, in my opinion. And so I think you're getting a great phone with either of these two devices. It just really comes down to personal preference. And what you want to do with your phone more than anything. Are you seriously invested in Apple? Do you have Apple everything? Then obviously the iPhone's going to work great with that. You're going to be able to sync all your apps with iCloud. You're going to be able to use iTunes for your music transfers and downloading and syncing. If you're not super heavily invested into Apple, or even if you are super heavily invested in Apple, there's no reason why you can't use your Nexus with your Mac and use your Nexus with iTunes. You just get the plugins that can convert the music, and it's really easy. Or just don't even use iTunes. Just use Google on the web. Don't worry about it. Again, point of this, you're making a great choice with both of these phones. If I had to choose one, I'm going to go with the Nexus. The only reason why is because I'm an Android guy. I really like the ability to customize my phone. I really like the fact that this phone was cheaper. And I also really like having something different. You don't see a lot of these. You don't see a lot of Nexus around. And it's kind of nice to have something different. Everybody's got an iPhone in their pocket. Why do I want the same old crap? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out everything else I have on YouTube and rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.